Daddy Yankee te ha dicho a ti quiénes son sus raperos favoritos. Él te va a mencionar un par de gringos. Porque tiene un eco bien cabrón que no te va a querer decir que son de aquí. Porque él es el más cabrón.
Pero yo pienso que
te va a seguir Puff Daddy. Me gusta Puff Daddy.
Puff Daddy, Snoop Dogg.
¿Y por qué tú no dices que Don le mete bien bellaco?
Say for y'all. Alright. 16. Chapter 5, Practicing Group Economics. The black race enriched every group on earth. Now it must enrich itself. Just 3 months into the 21st century, two of this nation's most respected sources of economic information laid out the case for Black America to build its own alternative economy and began practicing group economics. On March 14th, 2000, the Wall Street Journal ran a 2-page story on wealth building in America from the Civil War to present time. The article detailed the history of boom and bust cycles in the U.S. economy and concluded that the nation is in the midst of the longest period of economic prosperity and expansion in its history. The current economic boom period began in the early 1990s, but the journal article revealed that whether the nation was in a boom or bust period, Black Americans, unlike any other population group, remained in an economic depression. A week after the Wall Street Journal story, another unexpected source pointed out the economic inequality in our society. A speech to the annual conference of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition in Washington, D.C., Alan Greenspan, chairman of the Board of Federal Reserve, discussed the economic challenge of eradicating the wealth and the income and wealth disparities in the society. Greenspan went beyond reporting on the national economy and sounded an alarm to the nation that holds particular concern for Black Americans. He said that despite white America's economic good times, wealth disparities between groups are widening. He said, "I have no illusions that the task of breaking down barriers that produce disparities in income and wealth will be simple." It is simple. But he warned that this task remains an important goal because societies cannot thrive if significant segments perceive their functioning as unjust. Our national leadership, both black and white, remained silent to Greenspan's remarks in the Wall Street Journal article. for whatever reasons, they avoid the reality that after 400 years, Black Americans are still outside of the nation's mainstream economy. Time is running out for Black America to resolve the wealth inequality. If we cannot enter the channels of wealth in the mainstream, we must do the next best thing. Take advantage of the fact that we are outside of the mainstream economy and construct a parallel alternative economy within our own Black communities where wealth can be gained. Where does wealth come from? Since Black America's primary problem is lack of wealth, then a primary part of a solution must be for Blacks to gain wealth. We must learn alternative ways wealth is created and how to capitalize on human needs and desires to gain wealth. But we must remember that all roads do not lead to wealth. There are two basic methods to achieve wealth. First, it can be created or acquired through redistribution. It is very difficult to earn wealth or to acquire it by working a job. A job is designed to maintain a worker from payday to payday and to keep workers 1 week away from the welfare or unemployment lines. But what is wealth? In earlier chapters, we learned that wealth is the fruit of any labor that is stored and used to satisfy human desires and needs. Wealth can be acquired through inheritance, reparations, or profit from someone else's labor. Wealth can be acquired through inheritance, reparations, or profit from someone else's labor. The less a worker is paid for labor, the more wealth the owner of the business or land gains. If the available options increased business ownership increased business ownership and reparations are the best means for Blacks to gain wealth. Businesses can redistribute wealth 6 to 8 times faster than employment. Black Americans are just beginning to seriously seek reparations as a means to gain wealth, even though nearly 97% of the majority society opposes the transfer of any form of wealth to Black people. Eventually, the major society will be forced by the power of the facts to award reparations to Black Americans. Eventually, the majority of the society will be forced by the power of the facts to award reparations to Black Americans. However, until white society decides to grant reparations, Blacks must choose from the remaining options and begin creating their own wealth. It will require their best efforts, but it can be done. Much of the wealth that we need is right before our eyes. If we aggregate, we can see it. If we work together, we can acquire it or create it. We are simply blind to our own wealth potential. The words of a white child talking to his Black friend sums up the essence of the hidden wealth potential of the race. The child said, "I wish I could buy you for what you think you are worth, and sell you for what I think you are worth. I could make a fortune. I wish I could buy you for what you think you are worth and sell you for what I think you are worth. I could make a fortune. Throughout history, nearly everyone, except black people, have seen wealth in the race. Black people have responded by enriching every other group but themselves. It is now time for black people to create wealth for themselves. The secret to creating wealth is to own and control resources. Whether they are natural, land, water, precious minerals, or metals, processed machinery, factories, consumer items, public improvements, or human capital, skilled, literate labor force. There is no wealth potential in public housing, food stamps, petty crime, drug use, or teen pregnancy. There is no wealth potential in a job. It is the owner and producer of the job who have the wealth potential. We need activities and mechanisms that produce wealth for black people in their communities. When a group or community begins to acquire resources and manage them for the economic benefit of the group, they have created an economy, a mechanism to produce income, wealth, jobs, and business opportunities. It is important that we understand the concept of an economy. John Kenneth Galbraith, in his book, Almost Everyone's Guide to Economics, stressed the importance of an economy to any population group. Galbraith points out that those people who do not understand or pretend that they do not know how an economy is built and operates automatically surrender all wealth building power to those who do understand. Groups with their own economies make wealth producing decisions in their own best interests. The world is a competitive place, and there are few, if any, incentives for other groups to intentionally make decisions in the best interest of Black Americans. Upon what philosophical base should Black Americans build an economy within their own community? Blacks should use the same philosophical base that the majority society and its ethnic subgroups use. A culture of competition that operates in its own best interest. Those in America's melting pot build their respective economies around their needs, their cultures, their togetherness, and their nationalistic goals. Now, Black Americans must build a viable economy to accomplish Black America's goal of producing wealth as a means to be competitive and self-sufficient. Let's look at a story that demonstrates how an economy and wealth are created. Brian Westbury, in his book, The New Era of Wealth, tells about an imaginary island where 10 villagers earned their living by fishing. Each of the villagers caught 2 fish each day. The daily gross domestic product of the island was 20 fish, just enough to supply sufficient food for their meals. Clearly, the villagers could not progress because they only produced enough to survive. In this respect, they were similar to most black Americans who have work jobs or lived off of subsidies and various forms of assistance. Westbury explained how the two fishermen in his story fostered an economy by changing their perspective and started to see, think, and behave outside of the box. They risked starvation by taking time out from fishing to build a boat and make fish nets. Fishing nets. With their boat and newly designed nets, these two fishermen could then catch 20 fish in a day between them. And now two people could produce what it used to take 10 people to do. They now had a fishing industry and could feed everybody on the island. The other 8 villagers then had a choice. They could continue to catch 2 fish a day, to live on and enjoy life, or they could diversify. A few could build businesses that related to the fishing industry, perhaps opening a boat or a net repair shop. Others could raise and sell fruits and vegetables or start a bakery. Still others could begin to make sandals and clothing to sell or trade with the 2 villagers who built and owned the boats and nets. This is how an economy is born and industries follow. Members of the community take calculated risks and begin to build businesses and provide goods and services to members of their group. Later in this chapter and in subsequent chapters, we will suggest ways that Black Americans can be like these island villagers and build an alternative economy. Without effective and healthy economies, it is impossible for Black people anywhere in the world to compete in producing wealth. The world's total wealth is estimated at $390 trillion. However, Black people, who make up nearly 1/5 of the world's population, own less than 1% of the wealth. In the United States, the wealth has been maldistributed along a ranking order of skin color and social acceptance. The wealth disparity between blacks and whites is so great that 2 whites together, Bill Gates, $63 billion, and Lawrence J. Ellison, $50 billion, have a net worth that is greater than the collective net worth of this nation's 36 million Black people. With Black American households having an estimated $7.2 billion invested in Wall Street stocks and bonds. Gates and Ellison collectively own 13 times more stocks and bonds than all 36 million black Americans. The wealth disparities between the races are even greater outside of the United States. South Africa has 29 million black people, which makes it a 99% black country. Yet, the De Beers Corporation, a white-owned company, owns and controls 50% of that black nation's total wealth. The remaining 50% of the wealth belongs to nearly 2.5 million whites. The 29 million black South Africans are left with practically zero wealth in one of the most richly endowed countries on earth. The maldistributed wealth fixed black people at the bottom of the world's wealth barrel. Wealth is the great determiner of opportunity. Without wealth, equal opportunity becomes only a dream. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, hey, two people.